We played Arkham City with broken legs, we played Arkham Knight to curb insurance costs, and today we go back to where it all started, to play Arkham Asylum with broken legs again. Because 95% of the game is played on foot. That means no walking, running, or crouching for the whole game, to see if Batman Arkham Asylum is wheelchair accessible. At the beginning of the game, I have to walk with Joker's security convoy. I'm inputting the stun and evade commands, but they don't trigger. At a certain distance, the convoy will stop walking until you catch up to them. And since the opening credits roll during this, I'm counting this as an immersive intro and not a part of the actual game. Just because his legs stopped working doesn't mean that his fist did. Kicking ass is still a reality. Traversing around the asylum wasn't too difficult, but it did come with some challenges. For example, I kept getting stuck on these indentations out of the walls of the hallways. As tempting as it is to follow that prompt, I can't give in to the temptation, no matter how annoying it gets and how long it takes. I can't avoid using the air ducts since they're the main way to get to different places for the missions. The first mission of note is to save the guards and inmate in the room full of laughing gas. This is also the mission that introduces the gap jump, which I fail at right now. Good thing the game bails me out. There's a certain way that I had to evade to the edge of the gap to trigger the animation. I thought I was close enough to the edge for the running animation not to trigger, but I think that happens when Batman's back is turned. The Titan henchman fight was pretty easy to deal with. All I had to do was evade his charges until he eventually gets a heart attack and dies. Next we have to make it up the elevator shaft. Jumping the gaps using the evade technique worked really well. I tried the cape stun method again, and it gave me the same running animation. Some crouching had to be done for the greater good of the challenge. The platformer sections were my least favorite because the amount of time they took to do. The silent takedown tutorial was easy to complete. I positioned myself with the cape stun and evade combo just right to get next to him. Then I just evaded alongside the metal tanks to scoot closer to the remaining two inmates for the prompt to appear to finish them off. In the first Predator mission, the only thing important is how I took out the first gunman we encountered. Then the rest of them got the inverted takedown. The easiest doctor to rescue is Dr. Young. After I cape stun to the first wall and sprayed it down, I grappled to the ceiling and evaded across to the other side of the room to spray the second wall. It only took me a minute to do. Rescuing Dr. Kellerman went a lot like the first laughing gas room level. By this point, I was doing the gap jumps with no issues, and by aiming the left stick at a certain angle, I could evade to the edge of the platforms without falling off. Batman hotboxes the elevator, but it turns out that the ganja was laced by Scarecrow. I knew coming into this challenge that the Scarecrow levels were going to be some of the harder ones for me to beat because this anorexic peeping Tom is constantly looking over my shoulder. That was the case until I realized that he gives you a decent amount of time to maneuver around whenever you're out of his line of sight, especially on this mission. The evade jump covers a lot of ground and feels faster than running in my opinion. But there were some close calls, and I did get caught a couple of times on the first gap jump, but it didn't take me long to get through this one. And yeah, it was the first one, so take that with a grain of salt. When we get to the experimental chamber for the first stealth mission, I get the luckiest silent takedown of all time. Next is the inmate patrolling the top floor. Next is the inmate in the corner. The evade on the wall technique doesn't work on him, so I tried the cape stun and it worked. After we take out the inmate patrolling the bottom floor, we can take down Harley and save Commissioner Gordon. The second platform section is the main sewer junction. We end up here a couple of times, so this will basically sum it up. We have the cape stun up the ledges. When I tried to evade jump, I couldn't keep Batman in a straight line, so I fell off multiple times. It took a while to do, but it's the most efficient way to get it done. There was a lot of restarting. I counted about 8 of them, and I had to go back to the beginning for most of them. To get into Arkham Mansion, we first have to take out the snipers guarding the entrance. The sniper in the left guard tower is who I went after first. I must have been too loud since I got a bullet to the back. The sniper in the right guard tower was easier to take out. I went through the cemetery to avoid being spotted by the 2 snipers on the mansion rooftop, and the plan worked perfectly. And once I take them both out, we can get into the mansion. Inside the mansion, there isn't much to cover pertaining to the challenge except for the second Scarecrow level, which was more difficult than the first, especially with the boxes. First box was easy, not too many deaths. The second one on the other hand was worse, and here's one of the deaths. After like 6 or so tries, I finally got it right, and I have to thank the box's shadow for the cover. And that was just the first section, but oddly enough, the rest was easy. I'm not gonna lie, the last leg of the level was giving me some anxiety because of how open the area was, and it took me a couple minutes at each cover to get the timing down. When I got to the last platform for the spotlight, I was double tapping X so fast, and when I moved beside the light, I kept mashing circle. I let out a huge sigh of relief when the cutscene came on. But I can't forget to mention that we couldn't have done that mission or finished the rest of the game without the previous scene. It's a requirement that we can't get around, but it could be counted as an interactive cutscene since there's no gameplay going on. In the cell blocks, the main thing I did was double tap X. I evade jumped around the whole facility, and that's what most of the footage consists of. That and getting jump scared by the released lunatic inmates. And that happens for the remainder of the game outdoors, since the majority of them got out and went to every part of the island grounds. Other than that, rescuing the guards from Harley was really easy. I stood in the same spot in the middle of the room and completed the mission from there. Lastly, in the extreme incarceration room, the electric floor didn't pose a problem for me as I was able to maneuver to a different platform every time it went off. Next is the Botanical Gardens, and there's a couple of things to go over. First, we're in the aviary for the second stealth mission. I wish I could say that I had an elaborate plan to beat this section, but all I did was use the vents and pass the guards with basic stealth. They were covering the bottom gunman, so I have no window to strike. I seriously don't understand how I wasn't seen right here, but I won't complain. The Titan Henchman duo fight is next. What's so good about these missions is that they're made for this challenge, since jumping out of the way is a core mechanic. I only took damage when the second monster did his charge. The strategy was the same as a normal playthrough. Avoid the charges by jumping out of the way and beat the hell out of them while they're stunned. And since it's two of them, I can hop on one to beat the other one up. This is my favorite one of the 6 Titan fights because it's just these two guys and I don't have to worry about the other inmates getting in the way. Once I gave the last gearhead a beatdown, we can move on. To get past the sniper on the roof, I had to throw a battering at him, grapple up to the guard tower, and while he's getting up, zipline over to him and take him out to get back into intensive treatment. Back in the lobby, we do another predator mission, and this is how I took out the first 2 inmates. The interesting thing about this one is that the gargoyles blow up after you get off them, so I have to set up shop on the tower. From that spot, I still had a decent vantage point, and I just picked the inmates off one by one, and most of them were in the same spot by the ladders. After that, Batman smoked some more reefer, so much that my PS5 glitches, and of course it's laced by Scarecrow. That guy needs to find a new dealer. This is the third and final Scarecrow mission that we have to do, and it wasn't that hard, especially since we've already done 2 previous levels. This was a really close call. If I was half a second off, I would have been dead. There was only one death and it happened during the moving cell part because I mistimed it. These levels were really fun to do. They gave me some of the best experiences during this challenge. Just like the last level, there's a couple of fights that I had to do with some skeletons, and after that, I can do the equivalent of opening the blinds to a kid's room with a vitamin D deficiency. In the sewers, we have to do 4 things. First, we have to cape stun the whole way through, since this is one of those levels where I can't disturb the water. It took ages to get around, so I didn't want to end up in a mutant crocodile stomach, so this was my life. Speaking of the devil, the next thing we have to do is not get eaten by this guy, which means I can't do what I did here and miss every shot. All while collecting plant spores for Ivy so he can convince her to be Batman's new dealer. I don't know why I didn't think about using a light launcher until now, but it was a good thing that I did since Killer Croc starts to destroy the wooden plank shortly after. Then things get a bit dicey when he does his smash attacks. For the remainder of the mission, I ziplined around and avoided Croc's ambushes to find the last plant spore. After that's done, there's one last thing to do, and that's to get the hell out of here. That's easier said than done though, because it's really easy to get lost. Because after a while, everything starts to look the same, and there's the limited threat of Croc jumping out from the depths at any time. Looks like we're heading in the right direction now. I want someone to rush into my arms the way Killer Croc does to Batman. He was even kind enough to walk me to the exit of his lair. He's such a gentleman. Now we've reached the hardest part of the challenge, outrunning Killer Croc's final smash attack while hopping over a couple gates that weren't there when we got here. In my next attempt, I make it over the first gate just before his attack. I take the corner too wide and I wasted a second that I needed to get over the next gate in time. And I failed to get over the second gate for the next 10 minutes. I needed to add an extra second to get over the gate. In this attempt, I make it over the first gate at a good pace. I made a cut at the corner that gave me the second I needed to get over the gate. I was expecting there to be another gate, but it never came. And good thing that he stopped attacking here, or I would have been punching the air. After 20 minutes and countless attempts, we finally defeat Killer Croc to move on. In the control room, there's two ways you can start the mission. This way, or the intended way, by crouching through this conveniently placed crawl space to get to the gargoyles without getting pumped full of lead. This is the hardest predator mission in the game because every inmate is covering each other at all times. The two covering each other right here, the two on the bottom, this guy in the middle covering the empty space, and the two in the back. Then you get clusters like this, and it can get up to 5 at a time. These two never move. I thought I had a good opening here when their backs returned, but it was a facade and I got punished. The real opening reveals itself in the same corner. If I throw the battering right before the inmate drops down from the ledge, it should hit and launch him to the bottom floor, knocking him out. And it looks like it worked. I got another opportunity to do the same thing on this inmate, and I got another successful result. Now we have a pair up here and a pair over here, which makes this guy the odd man out, and unfortunately for him, that makes him my next target. These two decide to break off, and that gives me an opportunity to do an inverted takedown on this one, and a glide kick ground takedown combo on the other. With their rings broken, I can take out the last two the same way I did the previous two and move on from the control room and back to the Botanical Gardens, where we face Batman's new dealer, Poison Ivy. Ivy's first phase is simple: chuck batterings at her while avoiding the vines that she sprouts from the ground. The latter was easier said than done in my first attempt. I kept getting caught by them, causing my health to plummet to near zero. Then I got finished off by her double pollen burst attack. On my next attempt, I was determined to learn from my previous mistakes. I also realized that the batterings will do chip damage to her even with the shell closed. She was doing chip damage on me too. Every time that I got her when she opened her shell, she would shoot a pollen bullet and hit me. We were trading blows with each other, and I almost died too, but I got to her before she could get to me. This is for making me run around the sewers looking for spores and almost getting eaten by Killer Croc. In her second phase, she brings in some guards that are under her pheromones. The strategy I used to make it easier was to let the vines tangle them up and then use the ground takedown afterwards, and I was able to knock a few off the edge. The downside to the vine method was that I got too aggressive at times and I would get caught in the vines along with the guards. Now that I'm on the verge of death, I have to be more careful about where I land and who I decide to engage with. Another thing I found out about was that the vines are safe to be in contact with once they're green. It's the brown part that's deadly. With that newfound tip, it made the guards a lot easier to take out. Now it's just me and Ivy herself, face to face, one-on-one. The battle was fierce. Dodging a rain of bullets, she gave me everything that she had. The longer the fight went on, the realization sunk in. Whoever got the last hit would be the victor, and I made damn sure that it was me. I couldn't have asked for a better fight. After we take out the last two Titan henchmen, we face off against PED Joker in the last fight of the game and challenge. The most interesting part of this fight was that after Joker throws out the bombs and presents, he aura maxes in the background, and it's the funniest shit ever. This fight was really underwhelming compared to the Poison Ivy and Killer Croc fights. This game used a lot of Titan Henchman variants, and that made the game feel oversaturated. The only difference in this one is that I can pull him off the balcony and give a 3-piece combo to his noggin. This seemed more like a brawl level because you fight the inmates more than you do him. After we take him down for the final time, the challenge comes to an end. So to answer the question, can you beat Batman Arkham Asylum without walking? For the most part, yes. You have to walk at the start of the game and before the second and third Scarecrow levels. And you do have to use the vents to get around places. That can't be helped. But I would say, for the 95% that consists of walking, you can avoid walking for 94% of it. And I had a lot of fun doing this challenge, and I hope you enjoyed watching it. Have fun, be safe, and be smart. See you next time.